Yes, this Luca.
Hey, hey man, would you happen to have something to help me regrow an eye?
You want to grow eye?
Yeah, exactly. I want to grow eye.
Okay, you want to grow big high, medium high, child high, or big high?
Like big eye.
Okay, big high. Got this thing for you here.
Thank you.
Take that.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.
I like your mustache.
I like your glasses.
Got my tacos, I got my tacos, gonna eat
Breaking news, there appears to be an unusually large man stumbling around downtown San Diego. He seems very confused, and so are we.
Hey, Adrian, where are you right now?
Oh, this thing has Bluetooth, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, why are you a giant person?
Well, you know, it's an interesting story. I got this bad tech from a mustachioed man on the phone.
Okay. Hey, listen, just try not to step on anybody, all right?
Step on anybody? Do you realize that we wouldn't even be in this situation if you didn't shoot me in the eyeball?
I already apologized for that. Listen, just come back to headquarters. We have a whole box of bionic eyes. I'll just toss one in your face. We'll be good to go.
Bionic eyes? How many bionic eyes do you have? If I had known about that, I wouldn't have called an illegal arms dealer.
Yeah, that was probably a big mistake. Listen, just shrink back down to normal size. It looks like the Navy's bringing out the battleships now. I think they're going to probably try and shoot you down. So, yeah, I'd hurry up on that.
Actually, this seems like a pretty good place for a nap. And this seems like a problem for future Adrian.
Okay. Hey, listen, Real Housewives is on, so I'll talk to you later. Good luck, buddy. Adrian, do you know why large things appear like they're moving in slow motion?
I sure do, man. It's because speed doesn't really scale up the same way that volume does when you make stuff bigger. So things like physics at that larger scale are just gonna look different. You gotta take into account gravity, you gotta take into account the speed through which particles are gonna move through the air. Really everything at that scale is just gonna look slower.
Luckily, a lot of movies have recently come out with some cool giant monsters, so we can just reference those. Here's a montage for you. So I was going to explain it, but Adrian did a really good job. But one thing he might not know is that there's actually a formula for calculating the frame rate you need to shoot in to achieve this effect.
First of all, why would you assume that I don't know that? Second of all, what is it?
It's normal speed multiplied by the square root of the scale of the model.
You know what? I think I get it.
Explain.
So let's say we want to end up with a video that's 30 frames per second. Reasonable.
Reasonable, I agree.
We have at our disposal a camera that can shoot 96 frames per second. So that means our formula is going to be 30 times the square root of x equals 96.
So if you've taken algebra, you know we need to solve for x. So the way to do that is first by dividing both sides by 30, since division is the opposite of multiplication. So now our equation is the square root of x equals 3.2.
Now we're going to need to multiply 3.2 by itself, or find its square, since that's the opposite of the square root. 3.2 times 3.2 equals 10.24.
So that means we can actually make Adrian look like he's a little over 10 times bigger than he actually is.
Now in real life, I'm around 6 feet tall. I mean, I'm a little taller than that, but I'm not trying to impress anybody here. That means
not with that slouch, you're not.
Not with that slouch.
If we two are finished comparing sizes,
That means we can scale me up to about 60 to 65 feet.
65.
So that's the number we're going to keep in mind when we're shooting.
So most floors for business buildings are a little under 10 feet per floor. We use this to figure out how high up 65 feet was by counting around 6 or 7 stories high and trying to place the top of Adrian's head around there. So we were able to use the surrounding buildings as a reference point. We weren't perfect at any point, but this really helped us keep relative continuity with Adrian's large size.
To keep the perspective looking correct, you need to make sure that the imaginary ground plane that your camera is on crosses through the same part of your real body as it would if your actor was 65 feet tall. Let me give you an example. For most shots, we were standing on the ground, so that means we had to keep the camera really low. The point where this imaginary plane would cross my body if I was 6 feet and if I was 65 feet tall is my feet.
In one case, we were actually able to climb some stairs we were maybe roughly 15 feet up. So in this case, we were able to hold the camera a bit higher and still keep the perspective looking correct.
If you're able to get up on a bridge or a parking structure or something, you could hold the camera even higher. Just make sure not to do anything unsafe or illegal. Here's an example where we just kept the camera on a tripod like we normally would. You can see that I do look pretty big, but I look like I'm way too low, like I'm below the ground.
Below the ground.
That's why camera placement is important. In After Effects, our job is pretty simple. Just take a clean plate shot and mask around whatever buildings and objects should be in front of your giant actor. If you have other moving elements in the shot, like trees, cars, pedestrians, cyclists,
Hot dog stands.
if they're mobile, hot dog stands for sure. You're gonna wanna speed those up to about 300% or 3 times as fast as the way they were shot, since those shouldn't be in slow motion.
As far as compositing, you really don't have to do anything. Since everything was shot in one location, all of your lighting and shadows is already going to match pretty well.
Forced perspective is a really fantastic trick when playing with scale. Chris, you got a favorite example?
Yeah, my personal favorite example is actually from Lord of the Rings, making Gandalf look bigger than the hobbits. Here's a behind the scenes clip of that.
On a few of these shots, we added a tiny bit of camera shake whenever my giant big old foot hit the ground. If you want to do the same, just pre-comp everything and alt-click the stopwatch for position. Add an expression that says wiggle, open parentheses, 10, comma, X, close parentheses.
Actually, there's a alert. The expression is broken.
I see it, man. I'm not done. Add a slider control to the layer, and in the expression, highlight the X and use the pick whip to select the slider. Now your expression isn't broken anymore, but it's still not doing anything.
You can now add keyframes to the slider every time you want the camera to shake, and your expression will read those keyframes, giving you keyframeable camera shake. Other compositing techniques can help you sell your effect, something like lens flare that your subject passes in front of, slow motion visual effects, atmospheric density. All of those should be considered when making the giant effect. Hey, what's up everybody? Chris Kelly here with ProductionCrate.com. I hope you enjoyed that giant Ant-Man tutorial.
As do I.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of fun to make. Before we go, I want to thank David and Patrick. You guys are working so hard behind the scenes, building out some of the coolest content yet to be released on ProductionCrate. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you guys. You kick so much butt. I think that's it. You have anything to add?
Couldn't do it without you guys.
Really?
Thank you for helping us make it awesome.
What?